Welcome, everyone. You have made it to July 24th, Friday noon, Budget and Finance Committee. Meeting is now called to order. We have Council Member Swarthout, Council Member Jefferson, Mayor Pro Tem Von Holtz in attendance, and myself serving as mayor. We are all here. That counts as roll call. Item number 3, approval of minutes, Budget and Finance Committee, May 22nd, 2026. I am looking for a motion if no one has any changes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Councilmember Jefferson, Mayor Pro Tem Von Holtz to approve the minutes for Budget and Finance Committee, May 22nd, 2026. Any discussion? Seeing no facial expressions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Sir Finance is here today to talk about monthly financial update. Sir Finance, please.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Mayor and council members. Appreciate being here today and happy Friday, happy lunchtime. We'll make this short and sweet so we can get everybody back to their day. So here's our monthly budget update. If you hear some strange growling noises, my dog has decided to try to join the meeting and say hello. All right, so I'll jump right in with sales tax. You'll probably recall we started the year a little slow. It has since picked up, with March and April being really good months. June not too bad. Comment two that I forgot to say to start with. The revenue side of things is basically through June. We haven't received most of July, haven't hardly received any July revenue yet. So this is basically 50% through the year. And these first slides are year over year, month over month basis. So we're running 5% ahead on sales tax year to date, which is great. That's better than I expected in the beginning. Nice to see that turning around. For public safety sales tax, similar story. We're running 6.5% ahead year over year on that one. So good positive news there. B&O tax, it's ahead, but only by about 1%. So not as great, but hanging in there. And then lodging tax is an interesting story this year. It's 9.6% behind 2025 year to date. But as I look back, if you look at that bottom row for the column of 2024 and 2025 was a record year for lodging tax. So maybe it's not too surprising that it's falling off a little bit. It's still on track to exceed 2024 by quite a bit. So not doom and gloom. Okay, so general fund revenues year to date, this is on the budget to actual basis. Quick note on the property tax, something interesting happened last month. We got a notice from the county treasurer and Vine Street investors, or the Vine Street Group, who owns 310 Israel, appealed their property tax valuation, and they won. And so they are due a substantial refund from Thurston County. Tumwater has a share of that because they own several buildings in Tumwater, not just 310 Israel. So our share of that for both the city and the TMPD is about $450,000. It goes all the way back to 2023. And so we have this number is reflective of that adjustment because they took money out of our July collections, and then we wrote them a check for about $271,000. Was not my favorite check to write. But even with that, we're just at 50% through the year as far as revenue, and we're just about 50% for property tax. So it's looking okay, but it is probably going to fall short of expectations at the end of the year. Yes, council members, fourth up.
Is that unusual, or do we have anybody else that we have to be concerned about doing that?
That is pretty unusual, at least in my 5 years at the city. People pretty regularly do appeal their valuations, and some win and some lose, but it's usually not that big. It's usually, we might see a few $1,000s a month, but nothing like this where we've had to, cut a big check back to the county.
And why so far back? How can they go so far back?
I'm not super familiar with all the rules for that,
Okay.
but it sounds like they can go back a number of years. And it's funny. I don't, I mean, I almost had to laugh, so that I wouldn't cry, but because, it's, we know what they're offering that building for sale for. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to say, oh no, you need to keep their valuation back where it was. In
Yeah.
fact, yeah, I'll hold that comment because I don't know the answer. Anyway, yeah, this is unusual and it's unfortunate. Now, the good thing is, or at least I hope it's a good thing, we will be allowed, if we choose to do so, to take that refund amount and apply it to 2027. So we can basically like reapply that amount to our overall levy. Um, and that would come in, as we do the property tax ordinance for next year, this fall. So we basically, as a general rule, we'll get the same amount as last year, plus 1%, plus new construction. But when we have a big refund like this, we can say, oh, we would also like to reclaim that refund amount. And so we have the ability to do that, and that'll certainly help us going into next biennium. Okay. So the other revenues here, sales tax on the budget to actual basis is behind, but that's kind of a carryover from the mistake I made on that projection last 2 years ago, as we talked about earlier this year. B&O is about in line. The rest of the revenues are doing pretty good, running even a little ahead. Um, Grant revenue's coming pretty good. We're still running a little bit behind we're running behind on the SRO revenue because we had to go down to one less SRO, so that's expected. And then the miscellaneous, that's like the marijuana tax and liquor tax and things like that from the state. Those are running a little bit behind, but we'll see what happens. But overall, 50% through the year, revenue wise, and we're 48.8% collected overall. So, not we're hanging in there pretty decent, especially for that property tax refund. Yes, Mayor.
Troy, I'm just thinking if council members like rewatch this meeting or the community, can you just do like a parentheses or give some examples of what miscellaneous means? Because you see miscellaneous, you see like $5 million, that's miscellaneous. Maybe just
Yeah.
put a little more context in there or like an asterisk or something.
Yeah, I could certainly do that. I'll do
Thank
that
you.
for future. I'll update
Perfect.
that slide. You bet.
Thank you.
All right. Good question. Okay, on the expenditure side for the general fund, now expenditures are a little more up to date because we're not waiting on the state to, send us the revenue and things. So this is expenditures that have been entered into our system as of yesterday. So it has the July 10th payroll in it, but not today's payroll. So we're about 6.5 months through the year, which is 54%, and we're about 50% of expenditures. So expenditures a little bit behind, which is a good thing for the budget. However, it'll be interesting to see where we come out next month on that because with the 4th of July festivities, we have a lot of overtime for police, fire, and parks. And so we could see that number level out a little bit, be closer to the actual. So we'll see. Okay, and then the budget process, the overall budget for 27-28, all proposals have been submitted and reviewed and reconciled and checked for math and things like that. The mayor and city administrator have done a first round review of budget enhancement requests, a second round coming soon, and we plan to have the mayor's proposed budget to the council by August 31st. And so that is the presentation for the budget. I'll stop sharing in case there are any questions. Oops.
I have a
Angela, you look like you're thinking.
Yes, I have a question, but
Yes.
it might not have to do with this brief, but when you had mentioned at your briefing previously, Troy, you mentioned that we we had to dip into our reserves. So my question is, since we had to dip into our reserves to balance our previous budget, what does that look like for the next budget? are we preparing our workforce? Are we preparing our residents? Because I'm not sure what that looks like. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, we met with the workforce. We had a what are we calling it? Tumwater Times, I think we're calling it. Paul and I gave about an hour long presentation to the staff. And it's recorded and available online for people who weren't able to watch it live. They can go back in and watch that. It's available to you all as well. It's yeah. So we are. You're correct. The 25-26 budget was balanced with about $5.5 million worth of reserves. However, for 2025, we had about $6 million in budget savings, which set us up really good for 26. So we're still not sure where we're going to end up for 26. We could dip into reserves a little bit, but it's not going to be the $5.5 million that we had planned on. And so that helps set us up better for next biennium. But as we're planning for next biennium, that you know that that reliance on reserves is kind of rolls over with nothing else major changing. No, giant new revenues coming in, but also no giant new expenses. So we're still dealing with that, and we'll be talking about that more. And I see Paul's hand raised, so I will turn it over to him.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that in this biennial budget, there were a lot of new positions. And so it took a lot of 2025 to fill those positions, which is what allowed us to not dip into those reserves as much in 2025 and come in underspent. We're a little bit closer to fuller staff now. So we anticipate this year we'll be dipping in, but it likely, as Troy said, it won't be. Hopefully, our hope is that it's not the full amount. The Tumwater Times budget message that we did, there's a video linked in last week's weekly update. I can resend that to you if you'd like as well. But it gives you the video. It was about a 30-minute presentation, and then we had lots of questions and answers and good engagement from the staff. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that. And we just give the way I've described it to staff, and I'll share with all of you, is our budget right now is a big, bright, flashing yellow light. And when you come up to a yellow light, some people slam on the gas and fly through it, and we're going to pump the brakes a little bit, pause, and really make sure that before we move forward, we're thinking about all the steps. It's not just a matter of like, what do we want, but also what do we need? And perhaps we're at the point now too, where it's what can we live without or continue to live without? And so really addressing the culture of spending with the city that, I think the city's held off on growth for a long time. And over the last couple of years, we've been growing and we're out of balance. And so we gotta pull things back and we got to tighten up, but it doesn't mean that we can just stop doing everything either. So there's a balance there, and we'll be working with folks. And I'll stop talking now because I probably talked too long already.
Okay. If there's no other questions, there's no action on this item, so we can move to the next one, if that's okay.
Great idea, Sir Finance.
All right. Okay, so here we go. This one is the Charitable Partnerships Resolution. And the same presentation will deal with the next topic as well. But this is the Charitable Partnerships Resolution. We've had previous resolutions related to this, which listed out very specific nonprofits that we support, and either with staff time or staff payroll deductions and things like that. This kind of streamlines this and makes it so that instead of being specific and say a charity goes out of business or we don't want to work with a certain charity anymore, this just kind of opens it up to basically any registered nonprofit that's with the combined fund drive. We can provide a certain level of staff support to, and staff can make payroll deduction donations if they want. This resolution basically just provides some of that guidance to staff, and then well, I'll hold off on I'll give you more details on the payroll part later, but yeah, like I said, allows those as well. So I'll pause. It's pretty straightforward, not a lot of detail here, so I'll just pause if there's any questions.
Eileen, Angela, Kelly, do you have any questions? Just came as a request from, I think at one point, all of you in some form of another of how we're contributing, how our staff contributing, what's the list, what's in the list, how do you keep it updated, what's happening? And so this is an example of that partnership and collaboration with a combined fund drive approved by the state, right? They do all the QA/QC. Also the timing with United Way closing, that used to be the organizer, right? That staff would work through. So this is an iteration of a lot of your requests. And if you don't have any comments or questions, I would entertain a motion. Oh, look at that timing of that. That was perfect. Eileen,
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to place resolution R 2026-008 on the city council consent calendar on the August 18th, 2026 city council meeting with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
the motion from Councilmember Swarthout and a second from Councilmember Jefferson to place resolution R 2026-008 on the city council consent calendar on the August 18th, 2026 city council meeting with a recommendation to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Sir Finance, next.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Okay, the next one is the combined. So to be able to join the combined fund drive and allow staff to make payroll deductions from the combined fund drive and their charities of choice. The only thing we need to do is sign a data sharing agreement. Easy peasy, great stuff. So just in case, I think most of you are very familiar with the combined fund drive, but just in case for those watching live, the combined fund drive is a great organization. It provides flexibility and choice for staff making charitable donations via payroll. They've got low overhead costs. It's a fantastic program. This also provides efficiency for our Tumwater payroll staff, because if we have a dozen charities that we're going to allow staff to donate to, that's 12 different vendor accounts. It's dozens and dozens of separate GL accounts, and we have to reconcile those accounts every single payroll. So this is one account, one check that we write to the combined fund drive, and one account to reconcile. So it's a great way for us to go as a city. So here's our recommendation for this one.
Eileen, Angela, Kelly.
Do you have a question? So you said there's not a financial piece to this. I was looking through no financial consideration. We don't.
Yeah, it doesn't cost us anything to join the combined fund drive. Not the city itself doesn't pay anything. It's just any employees who want to donate, that would just come out of their payroll deduction, and then we pass that on to the combined fund drive.
So I'm familiar with like the community foundation that manages scholarships and stuff. So there is like an admin fee for that. Is that so our donations go to the combined fund drives? So they manage it for us? Or they make sure that the deductions or the contributions get where they need to get. So I was just curious. Again, do they charge a fee for that to manage the account?
That is a very good question. I'm not aware of a fee they charge to the city. They may take a small fee out of the donations received, but as I say that, I'm not 100% sure, but they haven't said anything about like there's no contract the city needs to sign to say we're going to pay this much money or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, when I'm scrolling through it, this is no financial consideration, so I'm not sure if that. Yeah,
That's for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a
Good
question.
question, Eileen.
Thank you.
Angela.
Yeah, so the previous one that we just saw was for charitable partnerships, and this one is for data sharing agreement. Why couldn't we combine it?
Well, there's the resolution, which is kind of one thing that sets us up to to specify for staff which charities are eligible, or which ones we can support, because there's two pieces. There's the payroll piece, but there's also the employee deduction piece, but there's also like say a local charity we want to help promote on our website or give some staff time to help support that charity. It kind of that's why that's the point of the resolution. This data sharing agreement is what's required for us to join the combined fund drive.
Okay,
So that's why it's two separate things.
so is it two separate entities?
No, Angela, this is for us processing, right? This is all to be able to use the combined fund drive.
Okay, so it's two separate transactions.
Two different actions we're taking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question, Angela. Kelly has her hand up. I don't know why I just sang that. It's Friday.
Well, because I found an answer to Councilmember Swarthout's question. So the combined fund drive is operated by the state of Washington. Its operating costs are typically covered through a small administrative fee charged to participating charities, rather than by taking a large percentage of employee donations. So that's how it works.
Okay, perfect.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for looking that up. So Troy has a proposed motion if you'd like to do it. Anyone?
I will do it. I recommend that we place the data share agreement with the combined fund drive on the August 18th, 2026 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Von Holtz and a second from Councilmember Swarthout to place a data share agreement with the combined fund drive on the August 18, 2026 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign. Any discussion? Seeing everyone ready to end this meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Good work.
everybody.
Nice job.
Any additional or future items, you three chairs of committees? You don't have to come up with anything now, but just start thinking, right? It's a budget cycle, budget stuff. How are your committees doing? Are things coming up? How do we align that with the budget talks, right? We meet monthly to figure this out. You're going to get your notebook in whatever shape or form that Troy and his peeps do August 31st, right? So Paul and I meet again today, this afternoon, to go over it one more time. We're going to do it every single week. So just start thinking about there's any gaps. What are you hearing? What are you feeling? That we need to talk about or address. This is a space for us to do that. If there's nothing else, meeting adjourned at 12:23.